When photographing the coast, remember to respect the sea. Check the tidal conditions and that the area you intend to shoot will be safe.
There's a shot over there that we're going to nail absolutely peachy creamy as a landscape shot at sunset. Yeah, but where the tide is, I think given another hour or so, might be up another metre, and in about an hour's time hopefully the light will be getting about right, maybe an hour and a half. But there's the side face of the rocks and all the fissures in the rocks that are going to be catching the warm light, and there's a couple of rock gullies and there's this lovely green seaweed, and I think when the tides come up to the right level there's going to be some water swaying and swirling over the top of these rocks and that green seaweed, and I don't think we'll get cut off there. I've had a good look around, so I think it's okay, and the sun should drop down to about the right position. I mean, we're lacking a little bit in the sky in terms of clouds and things for a bit of colour, but I think we'll get a really nice warm light on the rock face, so I think that'll be a good place to set up.
Now this is a great scene here. Everything's set up. The tide's rising a little bit fast for my liking, and the swell's putting some waves over the rocks, so I'm going to have to be careful with the camera equipment, but we've got some good movement in the waves, some good motion. And I'm just really waiting now for that light to fall a little bit so it's not quite as intense, because as it drops and it gets lower down on the horizon, it's got more atmosphere to cut through, and that'll reduce its intensity and it'll give us a more balanced overall light and hopefully a more pleasing picture. So we're just going to hold on for a little while until it's a little bit closer to sunset. All the conditions are starting to come together. We've got great light on the water, a lot of movement in the water as the rising tide is swelling up and cascading over these rocks. Hopefully we're going to capture some of that motion. We've got a beautiful light on the side of this rock and coming off of this green seaweed in the foreground. I'm just trying to set up the right composition now, and hopefully we'll get something come out of this magical scene in front of us. We just have to be a little bit careful, because with the rising tide we have to be a little bit careful of these waves as they're coming up towards us, as you can see. I'm going to move this camera bag out the way. There's a lot of value of equipment inside that, and then I'm going to be ready if necessary to grab my camera and tripod and basically leg it. I think any moment now that sun's going to break underneath and we can see razor light emanating out of the clouds, which looks really nice. I need to get a little bit of water coming up onto these rocks, and with the wave surges and swells that are coming, that keeps happening from time to time, but we have to be quite careful that we don't get a large swell come in and basically get us soaking wet and damage the camera equipment. So it's all working out quite nicely. I've got quite a good composition, I'm quite pleased with it, and I'm just really waiting for that right moment with the light and the waves moving up onto the rocks like that. And we're using a shutter speed now at the moment of about, I think it's 4 seconds. And that'll capture some of the motion in the waves as they're moving around over the rocks there. So I'm just going to keep shooting here. Here we can see the sun just coming out now on the underside of those clouds, which will add that little bit of sparkle that we need to the shot, and hopefully pick up a little bit of light on the edge of these rocks here. And I'm always looking to make sure that I've got an exit point. Those razor light straying up into the sky there, we're capturing that, which is great. We just need that little bit of wave motion, and it does come in surges. You need to be careful, because as the tide's rising, the water is coming in surges. That light is not quite playing ball. It's being a little bit difficult. I'm going to have to actually increase the exposure a little bit, but rather than add time, we're at 4 seconds at the moment, and I quite like that shutter speed for capturing the motion that I need So I'm going to open the aperture a little bit from f16, just a third of a stop to f14 to let a little bit more light in. We might get a little bit more richer colour in the clouds as the sun sets. Quite often the intensity of colours in the clouds increase as the sun goes lower down, and sometimes we actually get the best colours after the sun has set.
Be careful to keep an eye on the conditions and know when it's time to go home.
I'm out of here. I think the radio might have got a splash there.
My focus point in this image was where the sun was reflecting off the water just a little bit further than where my waves were breaking around the rocks. I selected this point of focus manually because I knew this would give me the greatest depth of field running through to my foreground and to my background at f16 to ensure my entire composition was sharp. f16 required an exposure of 4 seconds. In fact, I chose the 4-second exposure first so that I could capture the lovely wave motion around the rocks and then set the aperture to f16 to get the correct balance of exposure. In this instance, I used a wide-angle lens, and we'll be learning about lenses in the next chapter. I also shot this image at the best time of day, something called the magic hour or the golden hour, which is a really good time to shoot in regards to light. Again, we'll be looking at light later in the course.